How do you build reputation in today's world? You do what you said you're going to do. You say please and thank you. And over a period of time, you just keep showing up. I send a message out to 558 people every morning. You know how many people I started with in that message? 4 people. I used to write an email to my coaches, my assistant coaches, every day to keep them motivated. And when you do something for 15 or 20 years and you do it every day, that 4 is now 70,000. All right, so you guys stuck around all day, right? This is where the winners live. Yes. It's so interesting because I have a building in downtown Nashville called the Greatness Factory. It's about an $8 million building at about 8,000 square foot. And then I came here one day and they told me it was 80,000 square foot. So it's kind of giving me some inspiration. Number one, my name is Coach Micheal Burt. I have some basic beliefs. I believe, number one, everybody needs a great coach in life. How many of you have ever had a great coach at some point in your life? Just raise your hand. How many of you have ever had a bad coach at some point in your life? There's 800,000 people in the United States right now that call themselves a coach. The average income of those coaches is roughly $47,000 per year, and you do not want to get business advice from somebody making 47 grand. Yes or no? Okay, so we're going to kind of break down a couple concepts today because most people know me for 2 words, and those 2 words are pray drive. And pray drive is your instinct to see something with the eyes or in the mind and to pursue it. It is an instinctual ability to have a persistence and an intensity toward something that you want. So around 41 years old, I was sitting in a workshop. It was being taught by a former Vietnam veteran. And he was in the War Dog division of the Vietnam War. His job was to wake up every single morning to go ahead of the infantry with nothing but a dog. The dog's job was to sniff out bombs, booby traps, ambushes. Imagine waking up in the middle of the jungle and it's just you and that dog. And hoping that day you don't step on a bomb. You don't walk into an ambush. You don't step on a booby trap. I want you to think about the psychology, the self-talk that you'd have to have with yourself. Any day you think it's tough selling what you're selling, I want you to imagine the self-talk that it would take to wake up in that jungle with nothing but that dog. And he kept talking about the dog having a prey drive. Preydrive. And I'm sitting in that room learning under that dude. And I'm like, man, what is this prey drive concept? And I was fascinated by it, but I didn't really know what it was. So I did what anybody would do that doesn't know what a word is. What did I do? I Googled it. And when I Googled it, it said an animal's ability to stalk, capture, and kill prey. And I go, sounds like a good salesperson to me. Yes or no? They see it and they pursue it. They see it and they pursue it. They see it with their eyes or they see it with their mind. All things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. We go there in the mind before we go there in the body. You see that $8 million building that I built in downtown Nashville? It took me 8 years and $8 million to build that building. I failed 4 times, okay? But I went there in my mind before I went there in my body. All things are created twice, first mentally, then physically. And so when I heard those 2 words of pray drive, I go, man, I'm fascinated by this concept. And when you write a lot of books like I do, you're looking for a fresh way to say an old thing. And I call that vujade. Okay, so if you've ever heard of deja vu, it's where you've heard something before. And it's like, man, I've heard this before. I've read that book before. I've heard this before. I've heard that. Well, what I'm looking for when I'm writing a book is I'm looking for a fresh way to talk about an old thing. So when I heard pray drive, I had this big revelation. And the revelation was that humans have a pray drive. It's not their ability to stalk, capture, and kill, but it's their ability to see something with the eyes optically or in the mind, in the imagination, and to have the persistence and the intensity to pursue it. And at that moment, I reached up, I called my intellectual property attorney, and I said, I want to trademark these 2 words. I don't want anybody else in the world to be able to talk about pray drive in a human except me. And I trademarked those 2 words, and I gave it a new definition. It is that individual's ability to see something with the eyes or in the mind and to have the persistence and the intensity to pursue it. This drive must be activated every single day. There must be a persistence to it. There must be an intensity to it. And I went on to write the bestseller, Flip the Switch, around the psychology of that book. Now, as I'm out there writing the book and traveling around the world, giving the talk on flipping the switch and pray drive, which every person in this room needs, okay, I had a couple big revelations. And a revelation is a sudden, dramatic moment. It is a sudden dramatic moment. And my sudden dramatic moment was, I think people want a seat at a much bigger table, but they don't know how to get a seat at that bigger table. Okay. So I went back in my life and I go, how did I get a seat at a bigger table? So I started as a high school women's basketball coach. I was at the second largest high school in Tennessee. I was 22 years old when I got the job there. It took me about a decade to turn that into a national powerhouse. I don't even see you as the number one door-to-door salesman. I actually see you as the number one face-to-face salesman. Remember me telling you that? Not just door-to-door, face-to-face, right? So even at the top of your game, we're highly talented, yet we're undercapitalized. So at 25 years old, I sat down. So many people were coming to me, and they're like, what are you doing with these kids? I was teaching every player the 7 habits of highly effective people, principle-centered leadership, first things first, the power of intention. Imagine your 14-year-old kid playing for me, and she's learning these leadership principles at 14. And I'm spending 5.5 hours a day with her every day for 4 years. Imagine how good you would be if I spent 5.5 hours a day with you for 4 years, coaching you, correcting you, helping you grow to a higher level. That's what I was doing with those kids. So the more games we won, the more people wanted to know, what are you doing with these kids? And I said, man, I ain't got time to explain it. I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm trying to win championships. I love these kids. And I said, I'm just going to write a book about it. And you can read the book. That's basically what I said. Read the book. Well, something interesting happened to me because I was a level 10 person stuck in a level 4 vehicle. I felt like an 8-figure person stuck in a 5-figure vehicle. Everybody with me? And I didn't know it at the time, but I kept going, man, I got to do something bigger. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger. And so I write this book, and I had no idea how to sell the first book. Okay, I've written 23. I'm coming out with 24th book here pretty soon. And it's like I had no idea how to sell it, no idea how to market it. I published it on Instant Publisher. I had to buy copies and sell it. I had no plan whatsoever, but somehow that book got in the hands of business people. And pretty soon I started getting calls from business people. Will you speak to my team? Will you come and motivate my people? The word motivate means to move. So I'm like, man, I got an hour. Let me come speak. I got to get back to my team. I'm loving these kids. I have no intention of coaching adults. You already had your life mapped out. And it's like, this is what I'm doing. And then somewhere along the way, there's a hard right. And it's like, man, it's like, I'm just doing this. I'm going to win championships. I'm going to go to college. That's my plan. Okay? I'm going to be one of the top coaches in America. That's my plan. Well, I write this book, and I get a call one day, and it's Dell Computers. I go over to Dell Computers, one of the biggest companies in the world, started by Micheal Dell, and I spoke for 1 hour. Now, remember, I'm working 320 hours, and I'm making $55,000 a year at my peak. Remember that? I go over to Dell Computers, I speak for 1 hour, and I'm finishing. I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to go back to the kids. And the guy said, will you come back? I said, no, I'm not interested in coming back because I love coaching the kids. I have zero intention of coaching adults who are just big kids. Y'all with me? And the guy says, no, man, we really want you to come back. And I go, I'm not interested, bro. I'm coaching these kids. I love these kids. I'm winning championships. I'm working. I don't have time for this. And he kind of got upset, like, what's wrong with you? Like, we're Dell Computers. Like, come back. And then he reached in his pocket and he pulled out an envelope and he handed me a check. And I opened up that check, and it was more in 1 hour than I made in 320 hours. Everybody hear what I just said? I just made more money in 1 hour than I did in 320 hours. What did I say then? I said, man, I love them kids, but somebody else will love them kids just like I do. Like, I love them, but somebody else will love them too. Now, so I go home that night, and let's call that a trigger event, okay? So let's see if we can get this thing going right here. Help me out here, okay? Okay, good. All right, let's see what we can go. Okay, let's go. Where am I at there? There we go. So let's call that a trigger moment. And this moment was what just happened. So I go home, and I'm asking myself a big question that I'm going to ask you. I'm like, what skill do I have? And what problem did I just solve that they would pay me that much money? Now, remember, I'm like 25 years old. I just make more in 1 hour than I made in 320 hours. This was a trigger moment for me. So I go home and I go, what skill do I have? Okay, can I activate people? Because tonight I'm going to ask you to summarize your skill in one word. I'm going to ask you what the problem is. What's the biggest problem that you can solve with that skill? See, in the last year, I've raised about $30 million for 3 different companies. I've never raised capital in my life. And one day, about a year ago, I made a simple decision. I can do this. I can do this. I can use my skill to solve this problem, and I think I can raise capital. I started a private equity fund in the last year. I started a fund that raised capital for data centers. We invest heavily in data centers. I've never done that before. We're in negotiations right now to help a coffee company, a new coffee company, to activate their brand. We're in talks every single day to create things, to license greatness factories, to do bigger things. Remember, I was a high school basketball coach. And that night I went home and I go, what is my skill and what problem did I solve? And so I Googled, anytime I'm coaching someone, I'm like, if you want to do something, the first thing you need to do is a comparative analysis. And a comparative analysis is go look at other people who are doing it and see how they're doing it, see how they're making money, and what is their skill. So that night I Googled coaches that speak. And it said Lou Holtz, University of Notre Dame, Mike Krzyzewski, Duke University. And then it said they were speaking fee down in the corner. And it said $100,000 for 1 hour. And I go, I can do this, man. Now, notice this is a very important part, because a lot of people I coach see somebody do something and they go, nah, I can't do that. I called Jeremy Miner, the great sales trainer, one day, and I said, Jeremy, why don't people move forward with things that they know would be good for them? And here's what he said. He said, 80% of people don't believe deep down in their heart of hearts that they can do it. 80%. He said 20% of people believe they can do it without the help of another person. 80% have inferiority complex. 20% have superiority complex. And what you're trying to do is trying to show them that with your help, they can do it faster and better. So that night, something inside of me said, I'm not at Notre Dame. I'm not coaching at Duke University, but I am a successful coach, and I do know how to win, and I have written a book. And if they can do it, I can do it. This is how I want you to start thinking. Okay? If he can do it, I can do it. So I go back and I go, okay, this is a trigger moment. And the trigger moment was like, I'm playing a small game. How many of you in this room feel like you're playing a small game in comparison to what you're capable of doing? Raise your hand, please. Okay, I'm playing a small game. This is the very first thing I want you to realize tonight. So you have to have this moment in your life, okay? Now let's fast forward many years later. I'm watching an interview with Dr. Price Pritchett, who is in Dallas, Texas. He's an 83-year-old psychologist. I'm going to be with him tomorrow. And he wrote a book called U Squared and the Quantum Leap Strategy. He sold 14 million copies of that book. No funnels, no marketing, no nothing. Just people telling people about the book. And he's on this interview with Lewis Howes, and Lewis Howes is asking him, Dr. Pritchett, why did you go into mergers and acquisitions? See, he was a clinical psychologist. He worked in the Pentagon when he was in the military. He spent a year in a psychiatric ward. He got out and did executive assessments. And then one day, he walked into his team in Dallas, Texas, and said, we're going into mergers and acquisitions. And they're like, what? Like, we don't do mergers and acquisitions. We do executive assessments. And he said, within 6 years, we'll be the #1 merger and acquisition expert in the United States. Now, fast forward to today, he's done over $350 billion worth of mergers and acquisitions. And when Lewis Howes asked him, why did he go into that space? Here's what he said. Because mergers and acquisitions is the biggest game in business. He said, it's the big table. And when I heard that, here's the question I asked myself. What is the big table for me? Is it raising capital? Is it being a part of a company that has a big exit where there's a liquidity event? Is it building greatness factories around the world? Is it licensing greatness factories? So if I ask you today, what is the biggest game in business for you? You see, a merger acquisition is just really a strategic partnership between two people, yes or no? And some of you are like, well, I couldn't do that. My company couldn't do that. A few years ago, I had this idea that I had a small sales team, and I was running kind of a boutique consulting firm, and I'm like, I need salespeople. I'm generating thousands of leads. I need salespeople. I could go build salespeople, or I could go partner with somebody who had salespeople. So I went to a company that's doing about $25 million a year, and I said, look, I'm generating thousands of leads a month. You have 300 salespeople. What if I bring the leads and my know-how, and you bring me 300 salespeople, and we go do 50 million together, and we share in the revenue? Now look at how fast, if I had 300 people on my sales team, that could happen. Everybody see that? See, I didn't have to build the 300 people. That's quantum leap thinking. Now I'm thinking bigger. So sometimes a big table move is you partner with someone and they have something that you don't have and you have something that they don't have. And the next thing you know, you have something that you could never have together by yourself, but you could have it together. So when you're thinking about your big table, what does the big table mean for you? Now, most coaches are going to tell you not to live in the past. I'm actually going to tell you that I'm actually paying you for your past. Your past helps me to build my future. I'm paying you for your past. So when I look back at my career, okay, I really spent 13 years not being a high school basketball coach, but 13 years building these skills. Look at those skills. How many of you think those are valuable skills up there? I was learning how to build a primary skill for 13 years. I was engineering people to play at a high level for 13 years. I was creating championship teams. I was using adversity to accelerate progress. I was learning how to activate the drive inside of a person. See, this was what I was really spending 13 years doing. Now, what if I told you, if I took all of that and I amalgamated that, that's a fancy word for saying we put them all together. And what if I could sum all of those skills up into one word? What if you took all of your past and you summed it up into one word? See, my word is activation. And I figured out that I could activate a brand, I could activate a person, I could activate capital, I could activate an ecosystem. One night I got a phone call and said, we want you to come to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I think it's in North Carolina. And it's like, we want you to activate our whole city. And I'm like, that's cool. Right? Last week, we're negotiating with a coffee company, Nashville Grind. And they said, we want you to activate the brand. Yesterday, we had a technology play. We want you to activate this technology. Hey, we want you to activate our people. All of that came from my past. I was spending all of those years. So if I look back at your past, what were you spending years building? Okay. Now I have a really skilled person on my team, and her name is Jana Creel. She's right over there. Give her a hand because she's. And I call her my integrator. Okay. And she came from the Navy. She was a Navy intel analyst. And she left the Navy and went out into the civilian world and struggled to get a job. Now, at the end of the day, why do you think you struggled to get a job? They couldn't see what she had. And probably during those days, she couldn't articulate what she had, right? But she had this raw skill. And I said, the military's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to train you. Risk analysis, all of these type things, I think I can use that skill. We can use that skill in business. So when I take on a new business and I go, I see it, she's going to make it real. She integrates the concept and she uses all of that past, all of that learning, all of that knowledge to help bring a concept to life. Everybody with me? So if you had to sum your skill up in one word, what is it? The suspense is killing us. She didn't know I was going to say again. Threat analysis. I call her my integrator. I see it, I make it up, and she makes it real. She can see a threat analysis. She can deconstruct a concept. She can see things that I can't see. You with me? So when I take on a new business, I'm like, hey, I'm coming. I'll take on this business, but I'm only coming if she's with me. So now she's using her past to help build a bigger future. So when you think about your skill, we got to get to the formula. So when you think about it, this is really from a book that I wrote called 8-Figure Skills Stuck in 6-Figure Vehicles. And this right now is the number one book that I'm selling out there in the world right now. Of all the books that I've written, this is the book that's selling the most copies. So when you think about this, it's like there's a formula to this that's very simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. Okay? Skill, if I ask you right now, what is your primary skill? Out of all the skills you have, what is your primary skill? Then if I ask you, what problem are you uniquely qualified to solve that both fascinates you and motivates you? And number 3, what vehicle do you want to distribute your talents through to the world that is both highly enjoyable, it's highly profitable, it's highly meaningful? There's a return on your energy. There's a return on your investment. There's a return on your objective. See, some of you are in the wrong vehicle. No matter how hard you work, no matter how good you do, you just can't get to where you want to go. Just like me being that high school basketball coach. No matter how hard I worked or how skilled I was, the most they could pay me was $55,000 and a driver's ed car. Okay? And I loved it. But one day I woke up and I go, okay, I'm going to take my skill, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to take it over here to the business world. Okay? And I figured out that companies would pay me 6 figures to come in and activate their people. I kept hearing the same thing. We got good people and they need activation. Now, what if I told you this is the same thing moms and dads said to me when they brought me their kids? They would say, I got a good kid, okay, and they got a lot of what? Yeah, potential. Sometimes they said issues or drama or attitude. But it was typically always the same thing. I got a great kid and she has a lot of potential, but she needs something. What does she need? Focus, direction, guidance, accountability, structure. And I would say, thank you for bringing your daughter to the Greatness Factory, where we are going to manufacture her greatness. Everybody hear that? And I would take that kid, and 4 years I would go to work on the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. I would go to work on all 4 parts of her nature. And by the time I was done with that kid, she was confident enough to run for president of the United States if she wanted to. When I was done with that kid, when she came in like this, head down, no confidence, when I was done with that kid, she could do anything because of the way we manufactured her greatness. So if you're running a solar company or a roofing company, or no matter what company you're running, that company can become a greatness factory. And it can take people from all walks of life and all socioeconomic backgrounds and all types of people and put them together and manufacture their greatness. So when you think about skill, it's like, what is your primary skill? Now, I can't cook. I'm geographically illiterate. I can't fix a car. There's a lot of things that I'm not good at. I was raised by a single mother. She didn't teach me a lot of things that dad would teach his son. And it's like, there's things I just can't do. But when it comes to activating something, I can activate something. You with me? So here's the formula. The skill you have, the problem you solve, because money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve the problem. And then the third piece is the vehicle. And the vehicle is how you're going to distribute your talents to the world. Like, what are you going to do with your life? Now, at the end of my presentation, I'm going to show you all the things we do to generate money. And that is speak, coach, train, lead, license, publish, real estate, capital raising, activation of brands. And what if I told you, no matter how many things I show you at the end of the day, it could be 30 different ways to make money. I use the same skill in every problem. Everybody with me? I do not change my skill no matter what the problem is, okay? So when you get very clear in this skill, so where does your skill come from? It comes from your past. Now, when you think about a skill, a lot of people think about a talent. A talent in the Bible was a sum of money. So if you ever read the parable of the talents, the master gave each person basically a sum of money based on their abilities. And he said, take this talent, a sum of money, and bring it back with interest. And one person, he said, you got this talent, here's how much money I'm giving you. And you got this talent, here's how much money I'm giving you. Right? And the people that went and did something with it, he brought it back to the master. And the master said what? Anybody remember? Well done, good and faithful servant. You've done a great job with a little. Therefore, I'm going to give you more. Does that sound like how the world works, Mike? Yes or no? I'm going to give you an ability. I'm going to give you an opportunity. Do something with it. You do something with it, I'm going to give you more opportunity. You don't do something with it, I'm going to take the opportunity away from you and give it to somebody else. Yes or no? I want you to look at the person to your right or left, and I want you to tell them, if you had to sum up your talent, your skill, in one word, what would you call it? Now, here's what a lot of people say. Connection. I'm great at connection. That's easy. A lot of people say that. Okay? Some people say I'm great. If you listen to a guy like Ed Milet, if he ever tells you what he's really good at, he's like, I'm really good at listening. But not just listening. There's forensic listening. There's active listening. There's kind of participatory listening. Like when you're really good at something, it's like, hey, you are a world class at something. You are a specialist, not a generalist. You could be the best in the world at it. You could be number one in the world. So don't think generic, like I've got a good attitude, or I'm a hard worker, or I got a big engine, or I got a big prey drive. I want you to think like, man, I'm really, really skilled at this one thing. And I can use this skill to solve this problem. So if you knock on doors, door-to-door people, it's like I'm really, really skilled at lowering walls of resistance. I'm really, really skilled at intrinsically validating another person. I'm really, really skilled at this. So I'm coaching a person the other day. He's like, I'm really good at engineering an idea and vision. And I said, well, how about this word, visioneering? Why don't you say you're a specialist at visioneering? And people are going to be, what does that mean? It's like, hey, I'm very skilled at taking a vision and engineering the concept. I'm a skilled at visioneering, right? That's better than saying I'm good at vision. So when you think about these skills, I want you to learn to say it like this: based on my unique past and my unique experiences, I've really developed a very specialized skill set. And I am a specialist at X. Now, in the military, there's like Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Special Forces. And if you ever watch the Sean Ryan show, I was doing an event a few weeks ago in Nashville with Sean Ryan, and he has like one of the top downloaded podcasts ever. And he was a Navy SEAL. And then he left the Navy SEALs and he became a real estate agent. And he said, I had a real problem because when people couldn't make a decision, I wanted to kill them. Pretty funny. And that was, so he said, I couldn't be a good real estate agent. So then one day he decides he's going to go to the CIA. And he said when he got into the CIA, it's like they didn't give him any instructions. He's like, when I was a Navy SEAL, they gave us training. They gave us constant coaching. They gave us direction. We had an assignment. We went to deploy. We came back. We got more training. We went to this. He said, when you get to the CIA, it's like, here's your assignment. You are either good enough or you're not. And if you're not good enough, there's the door. There's no coaching. There's no training. You will either come with batteries included when you get to that level or you don't. You're either best in the world or you're not, right? Because you guys have been here all day long. You can tell world-class people yes or no. You can tell people who are really good at what they do, they've worked the muscle over and over and over and over and over. And they're so good and they're so skilled. It's like, that's why they make the most money. Money follows skills. The people who typically make the most money have the best skills. And if you're not making great money with great skills, then you don't have a talent problem. You got a marketing problem. Okay? So tell the person beside you what you think your primary skill is in one word. Take 1 minute. Don't be shy. Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt. I'm here at the Greatness Factory today, the Level 10 podcast studio. And as you can see behind, I got new imaging. I got a new concept. The big table is a metaphor for the biggest opportunities that are available to you that you're trying to work toward in your life. We're going to go to work on activating 3 parts of your nature. You first, that's science of winning. That's habits of the top 1%. That's the language that we use every single day. That's the activation of prey drive. That's the A to B exercise that we do. And then we're going to go to work on your business. And the business is like got these 6 core components, right? The activation of your team's prey drive, the explanation of value, the lead generation system, the follow-up and conversion, the engagement after the sale. We then move to activating your wealth. 8-figure people stuck in 6-figure vehicles. How do we expose you to some of the best thought leaders in the world as it relates to what's going on in the market, how to make investments, how to raise capital, and put all this together, folks, and we are getting a seat at a much bigger table. I'm Coach Micheal Burt. I can't wait for you to see this podcast. It's called The Big Table. We're going to help you secure your seat there. Follow along, engage with me, hit that subscribe button. All right. Now, how many of you thought that was easy? How many of you thought that was easy in one word? Okay. Now, when I'm coaching a person like 1-to-1, they come to Nashville to the Greatness Factory. We spend 4 hours in a room called the Money Lab. And I help them with this formula. What is your primary skill? What is the problem that you're uniquely qualified to solve? How could you place this into the correct vehicle? What if I told you the vehicles I got into 17 years into my business, raising capital, doing bigger deals, will far exceed all the money I made in the first 17 years of running a coaching company? What if I told you some of the vehicles I'm in today, in 1 year, some of them could make more money than what it took me 17 years to make in one vehicle? Right? It's no different than Cardone saying to me one day, I could never have $1 billion coaching company, but I could have $1 billion real estate company. So sometimes the vehicle we're in, I actually see my coaching business now as my passion business, as my purpose business, as me helping other people business. Everybody with me? But I do not see it as the vehicle that will get me to a big exit. I do not see it as a vehicle that could help me make $30 million in a year, as a vehicle that will do these big things. I don't see it that way. One day I walked in and I go, I love this vehicle. I think it's good. I love coaching people. I love speaking. I love writing books, but it cannot get us to the promised land. So what skill do I have, and what problem can I solve, and which vehicle can we get into? So most people have never figured this formula out. I mean, no matter what kind of education you have, or where you came from, or what you went to, or what you didn't go to, very few people say, what's your primary skill? And what problem are you qualified to solve? And who would pay you the most money to solve that problem? And what is the vehicle? So this is a formula that even people who've been very successful sometimes can't figure out. And it's like they've kind of muscled themselves to a certain level. You could 2 times a business by working harder, but you can't 10 times a business by working harder. This is where structural things are going to happen, okay? So when you're thinking about this, when you hear me talk about the big table, it's like this is what the big table is. The big table is highly enjoyable. It's highly profitable. It's highly meaningful. There's a return on my objectives. There's a return on my investments. There's a return on my energy. It's the biggest game in business. So when I'm sitting there mapping out my weeks, I'm like, all right, what's the biggest game in business for us? And I'll sit there and I'll look at all the opportunities and I'll map out everything. I'll mental map everything. And I go, out of all the businesses I'm involved in today, this one fits this criteria. It's highly enjoyable. It's highly profitable. It's highly meaningful. There's a return on my energy, which means it gives me energy versus drains my energy. Because I coach some people that make a lot of money, but it's headache money. Talking to a guy today making $500,000 a year. He's in biotech. But he's like, this is not what I want to do. And I said, I want to take you to when you're 84 years old. The average male in America is living to 78 right now. The average female is living to 82 in the United States. I said, if you make it to 84, I want to take you to 84. And I want to ask you, if you do this for the next 30 years of your life, will you regret it? Even if the money's good. I said, if we could get clear on your skill, we could figure out how to replace the money. You with me? I'm coaching a guy making $1.5 million right now in the mortgage business. Every conversation we have is about how much he hates selling mortgages. Anybody know what the word mortgage means? It means mortier, to death, which means you're going to be paying till you're dead. Okay? And so every time we talk, he's like, gosh, I got to find a new vehicle. I got to find a new vehicle. I got to find a new vehicle. I said, man, let's go to your 84 years old. If you do this for the next 20 years of your life, will you regret it? Bezos called that the regret minimization framework. I'm going to go to when I'm 84, and if I don't do it, will I regret it? And if I do it, will I regret it? So when you think about this, it's like I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 next year, and I am now just starting to figure out like, hey, man, this is a good vehicle. This is a bad vehicle. There's problems with this vehicle. There's good things that come along with this. And every vehicle has problems, by the way. But it's like this one can really get to our goals. So when you're thinking about it, the formula skill, problem, vehicle. Now, what is our problem? Number one problem I see with successful people is opportunity confusion. You know what opportunity confusion is? There's so many things they could do. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. And it's like I can't get clear in what psychologists call an aiming point. And an aiming point is like I'm going to put all of my energy and effort toward this. And every day I wake up, I'm going to move toward this. And this is a high value of my time, and this is a low value of my time. And I'm going to move toward the aiming point. So here's an idea. An aiming point would look like this. This is the exercise I do every day. I'm at A. A is my current position in life. And everything I don't like about my current position. Things I'm frustrated with about my current position. B is my ideal result. If I woke up tomorrow and life was as close to perfect as I could be, what would B look like? Now, what most people do is they never get a clear aiming point. Now, let me give you an example. So I got this greatness factory in Nashville. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. It took me 8 years, $8 million to build it. Here's an aiming point. I'm going to have 50 of those. How are you going to have the 50? That's the wrong question. The right question is, who could help me have 50? What's the model that I'm going to have 50? Right? So maybe I'm going to build it and sell it. Maybe I'm going to package it up as a deal flow center and I'm going to sell it to private equity. I'm going to build 50 and I'm going to sell them. No, I'm going to license them. And each license is $125,000 to $250,000. And I'm going to get to 50 faster because instead of me building them, I'm going to license them to people. Now, what if just by me talking about these things publicly, how many of you believe that by me talking about these things publicly, many times these things start to get into motion? How many of y'all actually believe that? Okay. So I'm sitting there talking about, I got 50 greatness factors. I got 50 greatness factors. I got 50 greatness factors. When in reality, Joe, how many greatness factors do I actually have? One. We go down to Tampa, Florida. We're sitting with an insurance guy who just sold his company for $123 million. He's like, I love this greatness factory concept, man. How much would you take for the concept? It's tough. I'll take $8 million for it. What if I don't want to buy it? Could I license it? Yes. The answer is always yes. Now tell me what the question is. How much? $250 per license. He says, I'd like one in Tampa and Jacksonville and Atlanta. And, I really like New York City, maybe Chicago. Now we've got 4 plus my 1, that's 5. That afternoon, I'm in another meeting with a real estate guy out in California. He said, I want to own the whole state of California with greatness factories. I'd like 10. How do I have 10? Almost same day. Now we've gone from 1 to 15 in one day. By me talking about it, I've got 50. Then a woman a few days ago in Fort Worth, Texas calls me. She's like, you know what? I'm looking at this office complex, but I really want a greatness factory in Fort Worth, Texas. Okay? Now we're at 16 by me having a simple aiming point of 50. Everybody see how I'm doing that? What if I told you I do this exercise every day? Every single day. What if I told you it programs a subconscious mind? It activates a supercomputer. The brain is lazy. What if when you start telling the brain what you want, it starts looking for people who can help you? It's like, who can help you? Who can help me? Who can help me? And then by talking about it, people start coming to me and say, hey, I want one of those, right? A to B. What is your aiming point? Where are you trying to take this thing? Do you know your skill and do you know the problem and do you know the vehicle that you want to distribute it in? How many just based on this talk tonight figure out that they either need to tweak the vehicle they're in because they can't get them to their goals? How many of you need to torch the vehicle you're in? Or the third thing you need to do is you need to utilize. So when you heard me say that we raised $30 million over the last year, what if I told you that many of those investors came from my coaching programs? What if I told you that the people I've coached, that I've showed up for years and had great reputational capital also became the first people who wanted to invest with us? And what if I told you maybe I do this to do that? And what if that is a bigger business? So when you think about the businesses as we close up here, what I want you thinking about is how do you convert your reputation into revenue? How do you build reputation in today's world? You show up. You do what you said you're going to do. You say please and thank you. And over a period of time, you just keep showing up. I send a message out to 558 people every morning at 7:15 a.m. You know how many people I started with in that message? My basketball staff. 4 people. My database hits probably 70,000. I used to write an email to my coaches, my assistant coaches every day to keep them motivated. Started with 4 people. And it was my way to keep them motivated. That 4 is now 70,000. And when you do something for 15 or 20 years and you do it every day, you send a message to the market that the market can trust you. And you do what you say you're going to do, and you show up like you say you're going to, and you start building reputational capital. Now, once you have that reputational capital, what do you do with it? Well, here's what we've done with it. Okay? This is the planner on how I move and circulate if you want to get that download real quick. This is how I move and how I circulate. So it shows you the exact system that I use to move and circulate about the planet around the pre-drive concept. And then I'm going to show you what we're doing with it, and then we're done. Does that sound good? Okay. Now, when you think about it, what have we done? There's the greatness factor right there. There's me and Brad Lee. We do a concept called Whiskey and Wisdom. We got a theater that we built. Right, here's the Dream Foundry. That's the founder of Orange Theory, one of the founders of Orange Theory Fitness who stopped by there. So we're doing my podcast. What if I told you by having this building, we've sourced over $200 million worth of deals in the building? Just by having the building. Notice we didn't call it the Complacency Factory. People come to the building and they go, you know what, when they walk in the Greatness Factory, what they want to do? They want to do big things. It has an environment of positive expectancy. You come to the Greatness Factory, it's like I'm doing great things here because I'm at the Greatness Factory. So we built the Greatness Factory. Then it's like, hey, there it is right there. Looking at it, downtown Nashville. You guys got to come see it. You got to come visit. I coach there 3 days a month. So all my coaching students fly in from Nashville. Then it's like, hey, man, I want a lodge. How do we combine my love of real estate with my love of coaching? Let's go buy a big 8,000 square foot lodge, and let's do coaching events at the lodge. So we bought this lodge, right? And where did the money to purchase the lodge come from again? Came from the coaching company. With the primary skill, remember that? And they'll say, well, if we're going to do those things, we might as well get a plane. Everybody needs a plane, don't they? But what do we do with the plane? Anybody want to know what we do with the plane? I just did this last week in Chicago. We take people with us. They typically pay $5,000 a person to fly with us, and we make it an incredible day. And we mastermind on the plane. So is the plane a liability or an asset? Okay, what if I told you almost every person that flies with me on that plane typically ends up signing into our biggest coaching packages? Because they spend a full day with me. They figure out during that day, this little bald-headed dude can help me. And I trust him, right? And so the next thing you know, they're signing on for me to coach them one-to-one. And the plane is one of the best assets we have, folks, to do this. This is all intentional congruence. And then these are the companies that we built. Pitch Equity is our private equity fund. Blue Marlin Capital is invested in data centers. We raised $16 million to buy data centers, building micro data centers. Safe Space is a publicly traded company that I'm on the board of directors of. Now, what if I told you by owning stock in a company, could you have $1 million day? Yes or no? You see, I got into this company when it was at 6 cents. That's when they asked me to be on the board. It jumped up one day to $1.80. If you had $300,000 in that stock and it went from 6 cents to $1.80, because I remember when the CEO called me that day and he said, congratulations, you just had a multi-million-dollar day. You just made over $1 million in a day. Not bad for a little country boy. That was a basketball coach, right or wrong. All right. So let's close it out with this. My question to you is real simple, guys. What does the big table mean to you? And what is a quantum leap? You got two choices when you leave here tonight, okay? And number one, thank you for coming because this goes to a great cause. And when Joe called me, I said, man, I'd love to do this for you. So let's give him a hand, Joe, for putting this on. And number two, I would just really want to ask you a serious question. Like, man, what is a quantum leap for you? You never experience a quantum leap by trying harder. That was me for so many years. I'll work harder. I'll work longer. I'll stay longer. You never experience a quantum leap by trying harder. You experience a quantum leap by trying differently. You see, at this point in my life, I'm interested in quantum leaps, and they come through partnership. They come through seeing something. They come through skill and problem and vehicle. This is where quantum leaps come from, not by working harder, but by trying different. So what does the big table mean to you? At the end of the day, what is the biggest game in business for you? And do you have a seat at the right table? You see, I believe everybody needs a great coach in life. I believe a great coach can change your life. I believe those that have a coach always earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. So I'm excited about meeting you. I get to spend about 20 minutes here. Then I got to get on a plane to Dallas, Texas. Okay, so if you want to meet and greet, come back there. Look me in the eyeball. I want to shake your hand, man, and tell you congratulations on going pro. Fair enough?